Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the life of a man who literally turned the tide of history. And honestly, the most fascinating part? He did the whole shebang without ever raising a single weapon. Instead, he relied on the immense, invincible power of nonviolent love. Let's get right into the incredible journey of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
In a time when the color of your skin determined the quality of your life, one man rose to speak for the voiceless. Just take a second to let that sink in. We really need to ground ourselves in the sheer gravity of this era. You know, this wasn't some minor social disagreement. It was a deeply ingrained high-stakes system of oppression. Out of that stifling environment, one man stepped up to speak for those systematically denied a voice. He didn't carry a weapon to this fight. He carried a dream.
Part 1. The Foundation of a Leader. Let's head back to Atlanta, Georgia in 1929.
So he was actually born Michael King Jr. into a deeply religious family, stepping right into his place as the son and grandson of preachers. Now, you have the legal doctrine of his youth, which claimed things were separate but equal, but then you had the brutal reality, which was separate and unequal. This wasn't just some legal technicality on paper, right? It was an oppressive, daily reality that completely shaped his early worldview.
And consider this number, 15. It's actually staggering. Martin was such a brilliant student that he totally bypassed traditional timelines and headed off to college at just 15 years old. I mean, imagine the intellectual capacity and, honestly, the sheer drive it takes to step onto a college campus at that age, especially down in the segregated South. It was right there, during those college years, that a huge intellectual and spiritual shift happened for him. He discovered the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, and he realized that nonviolent love, well, it's not merely some passive, peaceful state of mind where you just sit back and accept your lot in life. Not at all. It's an active, invincible strategy for revolution. He went on to become a minister, sure, but armed with this strategy, his pulpit was about to expand way, way beyond the four walls of any church.
Which brings us to Part 2, The Spark, from Montgomery to Birmingham.
Starting in 1955, Rosa Parks takes her historic stand by refusing to give up her seat on a segregated bus. That single act of defiance is the catalyst. From there, a young Dr. King is tapped to lead the Montgomery bus boycott, and that sustained, massive push eventually forces the ultimate legal victory, the United States Supreme Court stepping in and declaring segregated buses unconstitutional. But how did they actually get to that victory? Get this, 381. For 381 days, thousands of citizens walked. They carpooled, they marched, they literally wore out the soles of their shoes. They absolutely refused to ride those buses for over a year. It's the sheer endurance that's so incredible here. Dr. King's leadership wasn't just about giving great speeches, it was about organizing and sustaining massive, peaceful resistance day in and day out.
Now, a monumental victory like that, it comes with a severe cost. His success made Dr. King a massive target for folks desperate to maintain that oppressive status quo. The backlash was violent, and it was highly personal. His own house was bombed, putting his wife and kids in tremendous danger. Plus, he was arrested and jailed dozens of times, simply for leading peaceful protests.
And it was from one of those very jail cells in Birmingham that he wrote this: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He wasn't just fighting for Black Americans in the South anymore. He made it crystal clear he was fighting for the very soul of America itself. If the system was broken for one person, it was broken for everyone.
Moving into Part 3, The Peak, the Dream, and the Prize.
The date is August 28, 1963. 250,000. That's how many people gathered in Washington, D.C., standing shoulder to shoulder right at the feet of Abraham Lincoln's memorial. The scale of this is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. A literal sea of humanity completely united for one cause.
And to that massive, waiting crowd, Dr. King delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech. It's a stunningly poetic vision of a future where children will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. He took that core strategy of nonviolent love and translated it into this compelling vision of unity, and it completely shook the nation to its core.
But it wasn't just beautiful poetry, right? It actually moved the needle on the law, leading to monumental legislative results. First up, Step 1, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is passed. And right on its heels, Step 2, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This is the real, tangible dismantling of that separate and unequal reality we talked about earlier. Because of this incredible impact, Dr. King reached what he called the mountaintop.
and the whole world recognized him for it. At the incredibly young age of 35, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. At the time, he was actually the youngest person to ever receive it. It was this massive, global validation of his nonviolent strategy. But, as we know, the climb to that mountaintop was taking a severe toll.
This brings us to part 4, the final sacrifice and eternal legacy. The struggle for true justice rarely comes without a supreme cost. On April 4, 1968, the world changed forever. Down in Memphis, Tennessee, an assassin's bullet struck Dr. King. His life was tragically cut short at just 39 years old. Honestly, it is mind-boggling to think about how much he accomplished in less than 4 decades on this earth. Now, the assassin definitely silenced the man, but the crucial takeaway here? The movement could not be silenced. His physical absence didn't stop the dream from pushing forward.
He left us with a profound ideological toolkit to keep things going. Dark cannot drive out dark. If you respond to hate with more hate, you're just going to get more hate. Only light can do that. It ties perfectly back to his whole foundation of nonviolent love. And today, that light lives on in absolutely every single person who stands up against hate.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 1929 to 1968. Let's just pause on that short span of time for a second. In those years, he walked a complete incredible journey, from the deep, oppressive darkness of Jim Crow to lighting a beacon of hope for the entire world. The march definitely isn't over, but because of him, we walk with hope.
Which leaves us with a final, vital question to ponder. Dr. King famously showed us that if the arc of the moral universe is long, it does bend toward justice. But it doesn't bend on its own. It requires hands and voices and real action. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this. If that arc bends toward justice, how will you help bend it? Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring this incredible history.